All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Kenzie is dealing with some stuff. We'll see her next week. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with TikTok. Despite what many people think, it's not business as usual. In fact, there are many people that cannot even use the features in the browser. I know with the App Store not having the app in there, you can't transact inside of the app in most situations, and people are having a problem with subs and gifting and everything like that. And I'm getting all sorts of emails about TikTok moving forward. Not that they're addressing it, but just sort of business as usual. And I just find it interesting how little conversation there is about the implications of that. And if you're a creator and you're asking folks to use the browser and not to necessarily, do it the easy way, but take the time to jump out of the app and do whatever they got to do, all of that stuff just slows down the conversion. And it makes it difficult to do things the way you're supposed to do it. Now, am I griping? Maybe. Are people still moving forward? Sure, but I'm conflicted over the notion of China. I'm conflicted over the notion of propaganda. I've said that 1,000 times. But moreover, you're not even talking to your creators about this. So I've been putting a lot of thought into what I want to do. Obviously, we built the foundation to do something here. And it just becomes a decision, right? But I've been thinking a lot. And I do feel like, in many ways, the logical thing to do is to use the app to create video, post video, hopefully monetize video, and wait to see what happens in 70 days or wherever we're at now. 68 days, I don't know, I've lost count. It's got to be less than 70 now. Nonetheless, in order for me to feel like I have any control of the situation, why not just treat it as such? In other words, if they're kind of putting us in a holding pattern, then put myself in a holding pattern and treat it the same way. So I think that's what we're doing moving forward. We've got some great guests coming up on the podcast. Feel very good about all of that. We'll be on Twitch doing our thing over there. We'll be working towards building that up and building up revenue over there. It's going to be a whole new world. But at least it frees up the opportunity to make better content. There's the Substack. I'm very happy with how that's starting to go. And I feel like that's going to replace the website because it really does everything I wanted the website to do without the clunkiness of WordPress. So for me, I'm very happy with the way things are headed. It's unfortunate that the way things have played out with TikTok hasn't really been the way that they said it would play out. And it's just shown a complete lack of consideration for the creator. Not that I'm surprised. But as a business person, I gotta look at what's right for me. And even if the app stays, even if they sell the app, ByteDance has made it very clear they will not include the algorithm. So a sale of US TikTok without the algorithm is no longer TikTok. Are they going to change the name? You change the name, it's over. It's kind of already over, but if you change the name, it's really over. They also announced new monetization for the lives, and it's so convoluted. It's so convoluted. There's some marginal increase, and then if you unlock goals, you get an extra 3 to 4%, whatever it is. It's too much. I'm all for gamification, but the way that they gamify in the app to a certain point takes away from the quality of the content. Social media is a weird thing. You sort of have to be everywhere. And in many ways, you get support from everywhere. And that's really what it is if you are diversified, if you aren't committed to a singular platform. This whole journey for me has been one happy accident. So I don't mind going backwards to go forward, but I really don't want to, I don't really want to find myself in a situation of uncertainty. So I'd rather know what I'm doing than be worried about what TikTok's doing. And I could go play the game on TikTok, but I would just not be devoting my time and energy towards other things. And if everything does go south, even with a sale, in other words, even if they sell the app, but the app is a shell of its former self, people start fleeing, the algorithm makes it harder to do whatever, all of these things, whatever happens. If it's no longer TikTok the way we know it, which it already is not in some respects, then you're going to ask yourself what's next anyway. I love the idea of the Substack. I love the idea of writing articles. I really do. You know, that's using a skill that I haven't used in quite a while. It is very much the blogging of it all. I like the idea of being able to pull clips out of larger interviews and share those in a variety of ways, whether it's on social media or whether it's on the Substack directly. And I kind of just pick and choose. And then I can build a newsletter if I want to send out a proper newsletter. But I think what we'll do is every so often we'll figure out how we're going to get the folks that are signed up for the newsletter, an update. I don't know if it'll be quarterly. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. We'll figure it out. I do know that I got to turn the volume down on this computer because I was hearing a little feedback. All that to say, I do feel like this is a big week coming up for the radio show. It's a big week coming up for the podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. And I do feel like in many ways I'm slowly getting where we're headed in terms of workflow. I'm sitting here right now using a virtual setup, which I really like. I was messing more with the green screen stuff, sort of for that late night show. So I'm playing with all the tools. I'm refining my options. I am using something right now to record video for the podcast. Even though I'm not going to put the entire podcast out in video form, I do like to test the system and see how it works. So what I'm going to do throughout this podcast is probably contribute to making clips through the podcast, right? So what I'm going to do at some point here is talk about some topics that I know will yield clips. This is a little inside baseball. But Kenzie's not here, so I got to fill time. And so what I'll do is I'll talk about something knowing that in turn it'll yield a clip, right? So thinking that way and implementing that way, by the time I get off the air with you all and I'm uploading the audio, the clips are being generated, bada bing, bada boom. It's like having an intern. It's like having an AI intern. That's what it is. But I love it. And I've taken the time to really figure it out. I'm happy with it. So far we're putting out clips. You've seen stuff if you're on the Substack or any of the social media platforms. You've seen some clips from some of the interviews. But as you get better quality video and everything like that, it'll refine itself. So I'm very happy with the direction things are headed, and having to deal with the uncertainty of TikTok is just something I don't want to deal with because I feel so good about everything else I'm working on and developing. So I don't feel like introducing purposeful chaos into the mix for the next 60 to 70 days, whatever it is. I just don't. Now moving on. Moving on to Disney. They announced the closing dates for Muppets, and we all knew it was coming. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to remind you why replacing Muppets for Monsters, Inc. is so absurd. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to tell you that the parks are meant to change and evolve. Walt always said the parks were never going to be done. Of course. But he also said with Florida, with the Florida project, they have nothing but space. The blessing of size is the phrase, I believe. The blessing of size. And with the blessing of size, you have the ability to change what needs to be changed and expand where you feel there's need for expansion. You don't have to commit to tearing down things as if you somehow were short on space. Getting rid of Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D is absurd to me. It is absurd. You're talking about the likes, we'll never see another Jim Henson. We'll never see another Walt Disney. We'll never see another Jim Henson. And the idea that Bob Iger would sign off, if not have the idea himself, to tear down the legacy of Jim Henson, to slap in a 20-year-old Pixar property, which would have better fit the courtyard, the animation courtyard. Okay, you may as well just retheme the Rock and Roller Coaster to Monsters, Inc., because it would have the same issues in terms of accessibility to the market, to the target market, that putting the Muppets on Rock and Roller Coaster will. And even that's going to be a half-baked proposition. The blessing of size. So there's plussing the parks. There's the parks not being complete. But there's also the idea that, hey, look, we have to change things to modernize, to keep up with the times. But the idea that you would get rid of the Muppets in exchange for Monsters, Inc. just tells everybody that Monsters, Inc. won't be there for 20 years. It'll be there for a decade at most. What saddens me is that even in my biggest fantasy of some CEO coming in who really gets it and reversing course, well, it won't be reversing course. It'll be too late. But in that weird fantasy of somebody coming in who actually, and I say it's weird because there's the likelihood of somebody coming in who cares enough is just weird in today's world. Really, in any leadership position, people just don't care. It's all about self-interest and appealing to shareholders and making money. And I know people want to make money. I want to make money. Everybody wants to make money. But the reason Walt Disney was so successful at what he did and then in turn made money was because he had a set of principles. If you're not going to plus the park, there's no reason to change it. Jim Henson is an American treasure. To touch the thing that he worked on, the last thing he worked on before he passed away, the idea that you would replace that and not even have a plan as what to do with it. I mean, we're not even having the conversation about what's wrong with putting Monsters, Inc. in the park, or at least there. Okay? We're just talking about ripping out any aspect of Jim Henson's legacy. Now, the Muppet Courtyard has been underserved for years. That store in the middle became a seasonal shop. It could have always been much more. I don't know why you wouldn't want to invest in the Muppets. You've got room for both properties. I understand the notion of wanting to bring other properties forward. Monsters, Inc. is already 20 years old. The Muppets are a stronger brand, but just because you're not utilizing them doesn't mean that Monsters, Inc. is somehow going to be a better fit. In other words, by design, you've made the Muppets obsolete and justified getting rid of this area because you've not invested properly in the IP, in the property. If you would have invested properly in the Muppets and not reduced the Muppets down to frat humor with all those failed sitcom attempts, maybe there would have been value in expanding that land and providing something there that people would enjoy. Okay? And instead of just sort of letting it dissipate over the years, because it became pretty stagnant. I mean, it's a restaurant or two and one show. At least if there was a store, there would have been something more. And the Monsters, Inc. land isn't going to feel any different than what was already there. You're just going to add that ride behind it. So it could have just been another Muppet attraction back where this Monsters, Inc. door coaster is going to go. And if you really felt the need to put Monsters, Inc. in the park, you put it in Animation Courtyard. And then that connects, right? That connects to Toy Story Land. And at least you have some sort of Pixar connectivity back there. And I'm of the mindset you put a Cars Land behind Galaxy's Edge where the defunct hotel is. And boom, you got a whole Pixar land behind Hollywood Studios. Now, maybe in another decade, the right CEO comes in and you get some of this stuff. What I think is going to happen long before that is that the company's going to get sold, chopped up and sold. Some of these properties might wind up not even being Disney properties or might wind up in a different division. So I don't know what that looks like. Okay, and who knows? Maybe the Muppets won't even be a Disney property at some point. They certainly don't know what to do with them. It's so obvious what to do with the Muppets. It is so obvious what to do with the Muppets. I refuse to say it out loud. And people are going to go, well, that's just smoke. Okay, fine. But I grew up on the Muppets. I understand why they haven't succeeded with the Muppets. They don't capture the essence of the Muppets. They don't know the spirit of what Jim Henson and Frank Oz set out to accomplish. And the fact that they have never reached out to Frank Oz, his words, and offered him a job, not that he needs it, but at least brought him in at an advisory level as a consultant, something, speaks volumes to the disinterest. And then there are those that will say, well, a lot of this is just Bob Iger getting rid of Michael Eisner's stuff and cementing his own legacy in the parks. And there might be something to be said for that. We should probably get Joshua L. Harris back on the show, because Joshua L. Harris is like so tuned into all that stuff in a much better way than I could ever vocalize. And he'll talk about how everything that you see being dismantled can be traced back to Michael Eisner. And everything that is being implemented is part of a Bob Iger legacy. I mean, Monsters, Inc. is part of the Pixar acquisition, right? It was Bob Iger who came in and saved that back when he was the hero. Boy, times have changed, have they not? So the blessing of size, the blessing of size, the blessing of size. You don't need to get rid of Rivers of America at all, period. And by the way, just in terms of talking about just aesthetic as a whole, because the Rivers, I tweeted something out, and obviously the sarcasm was blatant, or I would hope. But it's Twitter, so you kind of, it is sort of the tone. But it was a picture of the Rivers of America all lit up at night. The reflection of the lights on the water. The Liberty Bell all lit up. The reflection of the lights on the water from that too. I mean, just all of it. Because it was the lights on the side of Tom Sawyer Island. I mean, it was just stunning. It was just breathtaking, just stunning. the kind of thing, the kind of picturesque landscape that you don't often see anymore. It's so special because it represents opportunity. And people go, oh, how? Well, you're looking out over frontier land, right? And that river is just endless possibility. I mean, thematically, right? That river is just endless possibility with the whole frontier ahead of you. And it really does mean something. And just because we've stopped teaching what it means doesn't mean it's worth getting rid of. And there's so many people that will say, well, you know what? You don't really, you don't do anything with it. How many people go to the island? Things have to change. But if you're going to change it, make it better. And I would argue getting rid of something as gorgeous as the rivers of America, if you want to shut the island down, shut it down. But I would argue getting rid of the river as a whole, or at least the front-facing portion, is an absolute minus to the park. There's no attraction that is going to be better than that view. Not everything has to be an attraction. And, they've cut capacity over the years by chopping things and replacing things, and there's no reason from a capacity perspective to put the kind of ride they want to put where the river is. It won't be accessible to enough guests, enough types of guests. It won't be what you would call a 4-quadrant ride. They use that term in motion pictures. I'll use it for amusement rides. Why not? And also, it's just another outdoor attraction that'll be shut down when it's thunderstorming at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Florida every day in the summer. So it's not solving a capacity issue. It may be solving an operational issue, so it may be plussing things for the operations of it all. But from the guest experience, it's a total minus. And you have all the space in the world to put whatever Cars attraction you want wherever you want. Again, I maintain, put it back behind Galaxy's Edge. Knock down that whole building that is the Star Wars hotel and just do it back there and connect it all together. It'd be a massive play. It'll turn Hollywood Studios at least into a movie park again. The blessing of size, and here we are. We're just replacing things, and we're not even doing it with thought, right? It's all done on the cheap. Watch this retheme of Muppet Courtyard and how poor it's going to be. I'm sorry, it's not. If it was going to be anything of the caliber of what Disney Imagineering should be delivering, it would be built from the ground up. We've gone from building something you can argue Galaxy's Edge all day long. You can argue whether they made the right choice in not building a land that is supposed to be Star Wars, not building an actual land from the movies. You can argue whatever you want to say about Galaxy's Edge. It shouldn't be in Disneyland because it's kind of weird being outside the berm and all that. Whatever argument you want to make for Galaxy's Edge, and there are many, there is still a level of detail and immersion, and it was built from the ground up. The ability is there. The talent is there. The capability is there. The money is there. But instead, you're going to get a Monsters, Inc. paint-by-numbers retheme. And, if I point to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, then I get in trouble, right? Everybody starts to get all up in arms. But the bottom line is, look at that retheme. It was a lackluster, low-quality retheme. So what you're going to get with Monsters, Inc. land is a place that's probably going to look very much like Muppet Courtyard. And I think a lot of people are just going to be like, oh my gosh, it's the Muppet Courtyard with monsters. Why did they do that? And then there's part of me that's like, there are monsters in the Muppets. Not that you needed to mash all that up, but it's just a weird thing. Like you didn't, it doesn't even make sense. You're replacing one type of monster with another monster. Not that all the Muppets are monsters, but you're replacing creatures with creatures. Like it doesn't even make sense. So these creatures are more valuable to you than these creatures because you've spent more on them. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If you just look at it like that for a second, like the Muppets are creatures, right? They're not people. They're not actors. They're not animated characters. They're not princesses. They're just kind of creatures and animals. So they're not far off from monsters. And there are many monsters in the Muppets. So you're replacing monsters with monsters, and it doesn't make any sense. You could have just taken that time and energy and expanded Muppets and then had monsters elsewhere. And then you have two properties. I can't wait to see what they come up with Animation Courtyard, because it's got to be amazing. If you're saving Animation Courtyard for something else, you must have really put some thought and consideration into what that is, right? Hello? Bob? Bob, are you there? I didn't think so. He's too busy angling to run for mayor. Go look at his Instagram. I don't think he wants to run. He wants to be appointed. I don't know how that works. We'll find out this week. All right. Perfect time for an ad break. I got a little new technology here. Let's try this. Perfect time for an ad break because it's a new year, which means it's time to spice up your kitchen. Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas, mandolins, and amazing pots and pans and knives. Plus, don't miss out on the small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker. So spice up your kitchen today. Go check out Colleen Herman at pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law for a free consultation to discuss the options and tools you have available to protect your home, savings, and estate for those you love the most. To get started, send an email to russell@rklawpro.com or call 786-566-2456 to set up your free consultation today. Last minute shipping from the parks? Check out my friends at the UPS store. Maybe you need a notary. They've got you covered. They're located right behind the Magic Kingdom at 6526 Old Brick Road. That is the UPS store at 6526 Old Brick Road. And as always, William.bailey Travel's available to help you with all of your destination planning, whether it's Disney or a cruise. William provides a customizable experience at competitive rates. Go check out William Bailey at william.bailey@academytravel.com, or you can fill out the travel form on my website, royces.com. I'm using a teleprompter program for that there as I record the podcast with y'all. Trying some new tech out. I put a video up on TikTok the other day talking about it was a podcast clip actually. And I said, I could show you how to do a night at Disney without spending any money. And somebody commented, so do it. I was like, that's a great idea. So here's how you can spend an evening in Disney World without spending $1 for admission or parking or transportation. Start by parking at Disney Springs. You can take a nice stroll through Disney Springs, and if you park in the flat lot over by Cirque du Soleil, which I recommend, it's a nice stroll all the way across to the other side behind the Rainforest Cafe. You can catch a boat ride. The boat has a lot of great music. There are a couple different resorts you can go to. I would take that boat over to Port Orleans, Riverside, or French Quarter, whatever you prefer. Now, at this point, you've strolled through Disney Springs. Maybe you've gone through some shops. Maybe you've had something to eat. Maybe you've had something to drink. You can do that as well over at any of these resorts. So go mill around there, explore, then take a bus, free transportation, over to the Magic Kingdom. Now, you're going to want to do all of this ahead of fireworks, because once you make your way to the Magic Kingdom, if you are good with your time, you can hop on the monorail, take that monorail all the way around to the Polynesian, and you can find yourself something to drink over there if you'd like, and go watch the electrical water pageant and fireworks from the beach on the Polynesian. Now, if that doesn't work for you, you can also just get off at the first monorail stop and enjoy a view from the viewing deck between Bay Lake Tower and the Contemporary. And that's accessible once you get off the monorail. It's all right there behind the shops. So you can spend a whole evening doing all of that, checking out the fireworks, having something to eat, something to drink, milling through the shops, take the bus over to the Magic Kingdom, and then hop around the monorail line there, do your thing, watch your fireworks from either resort, and when you're done, go back to the Magic Kingdom, take a bus over to the boardwalk. Once you're at the boardwalk, you can mill around there. You can go get another something to drink if you're looking to do that over at Hurricane Hannah's. That is the pool bar by Yacht and Beach Club, but it's accessible to anybody. You don't have to be a guest. It's not located inside the pool area. It is on the outside. And there's live entertainment on the boardwalk. You can get ice cream, whatever you want to do. And if the Skyliner isn't terribly busy, hop on the Skyliner, take a free Skyliner ride over to the Riviera, a nice walk around the water. And then when you're ready, you can take a bus from either the Caribbean Beach or the Riviera back to Disney Springs and end your evening watching some live music in Disney Springs, or maybe even bowling, taking a movie, stroll through the Coca-Cola store for a rooftop view. And you can do all of that, food and drinks aside, shopping aside, for the cost of $0, zero parking, zero admission, zero transportation costs. The entire Disney experience, that's springs, that's resorts, that's the boats, that's the monorail, all of it. The boardwalk area behind Epcot, all of it at a zero-cost proposition. Now, that's just one way to do Disney for $0. You don't even have to park at Disney Springs. I love parking at Disney Springs because it's a great hub, right? But you don't have to park at Disney Springs. There are plenty of places you can park on Disney property. Let's say you do want to get a dining reservation. They're only going to tell you can stay somewhere for a certain amount of hours. Okay, but at a certain point, you can park anywhere. Okay, you can go start your day off with a mini golf up at the Dolphin and Swan, which if you're an annual pass holder and it's part of your annual pass, it's free, and they're going to give you a free parking validation. Now, if you want to pay for it and just do it a la carte, it's, I don't know, $15 to play. But now you got your free parking validation. You've parked up there at the Dolphin and Swan. Play your mini golf. When you're done with the mini golf, walk down towards the boardwalk again, get something to eat, something to drink. And again, if you want to go watch fireworks from the bridge, you can go watch fireworks from the bridge, and you can hear the music from Epcot. If it's earlier and you just want to do something else, you can go hop on a bus from the boardwalk. So walk down there, hop on a bus from the board. You can hop on a bus from the Swan. But if you want to go stroll around the boardwalk, enjoy some of the shops, get on another bus, take the bus to any theme park, Use it as a hub to get to any resort. So let's say you go mini golfing at the Swan. You park at the Swan. You pay for the mini golf, or it's free with your pass. When you're done, you walk down to the boardwalk. You get something to eat, something to drink. You hop on a bus to the Animal Kingdom. And when you get to the Animal Kingdom buses, you hop on a bus to Animal Kingdom Lodge. You go over and you explore both resorts at Animal Kingdom. And you check out all the animals there because it's free. And there are so many animals between Jumbo House and Kidani Village, behind the pool area, at the viewing decks, beyond the lobbies. There's just a lot to see at those two resorts in respect to animals, and it doesn't require admission to Animal Kingdom. When you're done, jump on any bus to any theme park. Use it as a hub. Whatever one comes first. It doesn't matter. If it takes you to Hollywood Studios, great. Hop on the Skyliner ride. Caribbean Beach is gorgeous. Tons of stretch of beach. There are hammocks. There are bars. There's so much to do. When you're done there, just hop on another bus. Take the bus back to Springs. If you don't want to go to Springs right away, you could take the bus to another resort. Just go to Springs and connect again. You know what I mean? So what I like to do is use those areas as hubs. Whether it's Disney Springs or any of the four parks, use them as hubs. It almost doesn't really matter at a certain point. You just get on whatever the first bus is to get you moving. It's a little adventure. You're seeing the property. And then you get off at a resort. You want a great resort to go to Coronado Springs. Go check out the tequila bar, stroll the property. There's a decent-sized arcade over there if you're into that. I mean, they've got so much to do. So much to do. You can do Disney without spending any money on admission, transportation, or parking. Of course, you're going to spend money on food and shopping, but what I'm telling you is you can save all the money for those things if you do it the way I'm talking about. Now, that's just two scenarios, and I'm kind of just winging these scenarios with you. Here's a completely different way to do it. All right? You're going to park at, I don't know, well, let's just start at Hollywood Studios, okay? So let's say you decide that you want to park, I don't know, you're going to get breakfast somewhere, okay? Let's say you want to get breakfast at Cape May Cafe. All right, now again, you're not supposed to keep your car at the resort all day long, all right? You're supposed to have your breakfast, you're supposed to leave, okay? But let's say you have your breakfast at Cape May Resort, and when you're done, you decide to take a stroll over to Hollywood Studios. Okay, you can take the path that runs on the back of the boardwalk and take a nice stroll over to Hollywood Studios. You don't have to go into Hollywood Studios. You could literally just take the stroll over there. You'll hear the park music. You'll see the gorgeous view of Tower, and you'll arrive at two options, the boat or the Skyliner. So we've already done the Skyliner. Let's go to the boat. All right. Well, the boat's really only going to just take you back the way you came, but check it out. If you get off at the first stop, it's the Dolphin and the Swan. Now you can get off there and you can walk back towards the Dolphin. You go into the Dolphin. There's a huge lobby bar. There's a coffee shop. There's an arcade. There's a lounge outside by the pool. You can do all of those things at your leisure. When you're done, walk down towards the Yacht Club. Hop on a bus. Take the bus back to the Magic Kingdom. This time, when you get to the Magic Kingdom, you're going to walk. You're going to go through Magic Kingdom security. Come off the buses, go through Magic Kingdom security, just like you did before when you got to the monorail. But this time you're going to make a right, and you're going to walk a 5-minute walk to the Contemporary. Now, here's what's cool about that. You're going to be right up on the side of the Magic Kingdom, where the train is, where Space Mountain is. It's just a cool view. When you stop at the traffic light to cross the street, you're going to have an awesome photo opportunity, and then you're going to walk over to those buses. Okay? Now, you can either take the bus, but in an ideal scenario, I would actually go through the building to the boats, okay, and take the boat to Wilderness Lodge. Now, and you could take a boat. The Wilderness Lodge bus stops at the Contemporary and Wilderness Lodge. So you could use the bus, but if the boat is operating, take the boat instead. But I'm giving you your options. Now, take that boat over to Wilderness Lodge, and there's the bar out there on the water. You go have a drink. You can just sit and enjoy the water. There's a trail if you want to. If it's open, of course, everything's conditional. But if the trail is open, you used to be able to walk. With construction, maybe it's not, but you used to be able to walk over to the campgrounds. You could walk over to the campgrounds. There's a barn over on the campgrounds where they keep the horses. And I'm not talking about the barn where you can actually go ride the horses. I'm talking about the barn in the back, Tricircle. No, Tricircle's in the front. I don't remember what the one in the back is called. This is why I'm trying not to name things, okay? But the one in the back is where the pony rides are for the kids, but it's also where they keep all the older horses, right? So you'll see the ponies are back there, and they used to do full barn tours. They don't do them anymore. But it's an awesome free thing you can just go do. It's there. Now you can take a bus up towards the front, and you can actually sign up and do horse rides, but that's something you're going to want to schedule in advance. I'm just talking about an impromptu visit to see some gorgeous animals. When you're done there, okay, if you found your way over, if you're lucky enough to walk over there, if not, take a boat, because there's boats from the Contemporary that'll take you over to both the campgrounds and the lodge. Then when you're done there, you just take another bus, wherever it goes next. If it takes you to Epcot, it takes you to Epcot, and then you just hop over to another resort or whatever. Yeah, because you got to go to Springs, right? If you start, so you just hop to another whatever. I don't even remember where we started in this scenario. We started at the breakfast at Cape May. So you just take the bus back to Cape May. Take the bus back, rather, to the beach club. I remember the first time Nick visited, when I had moved down here and had been settled in, and I just showed him, like, we can go park over here, and you can just hop on a boat and go ride around. I mean, he was having a time of his life. He's like, I didn't even go into the park. I don't even have a ticket. I'm like, I know. So you could just run around the property and enjoy the heck out of it. There's so many ways to enjoy Disney World beyond the rides. That was the whole point. I hope at some point we see a leader come back in that understands what Walt set out to accomplish. Because I think now more than ever, we really need some innovation in this country. And I don't feel like the people that are supposed to be our quote-unquote tech leaders are innovators. I don't feel like any of these guys that I look at, they're not a Steve Jobs. They're nobody. Look, say what you want, but Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, even Jeff Bezos. I mean, these guys, they're not, and Steve Jobs wasn't even like the guy. It was Woz. None of these guys are even, Tim Cook isn't even Nolan Bushnell, let alone Steve Jobs. Mark Zuckerberg will never be a Barry Diller. These were guys that broke ground. They dared to be different. And you can say what you want about a Michael Eisner, but when Michael Eisner came in, he may have been a bull in the china shop, but he absolutely understood what the core values were and what the founding principles were for the Walt Disney Company. And he embraced them. And when he made mistakes, he often corrected them, even when they were expensive corrections. But he was still not a Walt Disney. He's still not a Steve Jobs. And again, I don't even think Steve Jobs should be put in the same breath as some of these people we're talking about. True innovators, true inventors. As much as Walt Disney wasn't a tech guy per se, he was a tech innovator. From sound synchronization to the multiplane camera to audio animatronics. Walt Disney was a tech innovator. He may not be labeled that, but in many ways, he's a tech innovator. And I really wish that Progress City would have been a thing. The land is there. And heck, with all the modifications and all the changes coming to the parks, the land is still there. So maybe the real gift in all of this is that one day we get Progress City. And instead of focusing on the negative, maybe that's what I'm going to focus on, is that maybe one day we get Progress City. Maybe it does take the Apple-Disney marriage to accomplish it. But imagine that. If Progress City would have been built when Walt wanted to, before Walt passed, before Roy came in, before everything changed, we would have been a very different country. Because having a giant city of tomorrow in Florida, we would have been on 50 plus years of that already, and it would have evolved, and it would have been just, even if it still came with the same problems with corporate leadership and changes and all the things we're still griping about with the theme park, even with all of that, the idea that the foundation for the city of tomorrow could have been built before my lifetime, and it never happened, and it is now 40. It is 50 some odd years later, 40 some odd years, just in my lifetime, and we still haven't accomplished it. How much of a visionary was Walt Disney to want to build the city of tomorrow? The city of tomorrow in the late 70s. Things would have been very different. Things would have been very, very different. There really will never be another Walt Disney. And it is the lack of respect for the legacy of not just Walt Disney, but like I said earlier, the Jim Hensons of the world, guys like that, who just scraped their way to the top whenever people told them no. They just shrugged it off and kept pushing. And these guys started young. And both guys left us young. But look how much they accomplished in their lives. And I saw a comment that the actor Jesse Eisenberg made. I guess he was on Bill Maher about all these tech guys. And he was saying how, what's amazing to him is how they don't spend their days doing things to help people with all their resources. And I couldn't agree more. with all that power, like, why are you even wasting your time with any of the weirdness when you could just be helping people? So maybe the next Walt Disney, maybe the next Jim Henson, maybe whoever it is, the next larger than life individual that comes along to develop new technology, to break new ground and to push us forward. Maybe they will have the understanding and the desire to uphold not just principles, but hold up their convictions, because I think one of the things that makes both a Jim Henson and a Walt Disney so special to me is how no matter what, it was almost a stubborn nature, I mean, how you really do have to be stubborn. How many times was Walt told no, and he still went ahead and built Disneyland? I mean, I think for me, it's just a level of conviction, and I don't see it anywhere in the world. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully. But maybe that the next big innovator that comes along at that level that can actually do some good, like maybe that next Walt Disney, Jim Henson type person, maybe that next person of that scale, because again, maybe we're not talking about an entertainment type necessarily, but maybe whoever that is comes along actually has the ability to help people. That's all I'm trying to say. Imagine somebody with the conviction of a Walt Disney in today's world trying to do some good. Imagine somebody with the spirit, just the spirit of I'll even use Nolan Bushnell again. I mean, these are garage guys, right? Like the spirit of Ford, the spirit of Tesla, and I don't mean Elon Musk. The spirit of Edison. The spirit of Wozniak. Because I really do feel like Wozniak deserves a lot more credit. Not that he needs it or wants it. But, an innovator that could come along, that could not just propose new ways of doing things, but rather than the pursuit of money, it would be the pursuit of helping others. It's almost like if we could have a little bit of that in industry and a little bit of that in government, it's almost like we could change the world. Because it's really not a conversation about what's right or what's wrong anymore. People know what's right and what's wrong. It's the conscious decision to not do things. We've got a whole bunch of leaders. We got a whole bunch of leaders in government. We got a whole bunch of leaders in the tech space that don't care about working class people and solving problems for the common man. They have the function. They have the ability. They're totally, it's within all of their reach from a legislative perspective, from a financial perspective. But why is it that all these people, whether we're talking about Congress or we're talking about market leaders, why is it that nobody has any conviction to do anything regarding helping other people? It's always about lining pockets and building power. I just feel like even in the age of a Walt Disney, and you can say what you want, you can argue that Walt was, a this, that, or the other. but I still feel like there was a care. And even if that care was as simple as just the way he wanted to carry the parks, but it was a care and consideration. And even if it was still in the pursuit of money, it was a care and consideration. When everybody said nobody cares about how clean the parks are, and he goes, well, I care, and people will care if you show them that they care. But if you assume they don't care, then don't expect them to. So, whether we're talking about caring about a theme park or just caring about people in general, just like the desire isn't there anymore. And I don't know if that's something we've just stopped teaching or if it's just the nature of this vitriolic world that we live in. But I just feel like people do not care. Not just the common people. I'm talking about the people at the top. The people that are supposed to care. The people that have the ability to actually... I wish I had the ability to do a tenth of what some of these people could do. Drives me meshugana. You imagine what Apple... I mean, I know they're a company and they're there to make money, but you imagine what an Apple could do if they cared? Can you imagine what a Mark Zuckerberg could do or Jeff Bezos could do if they really cared? And I'm not talking about the philanthropic BS that some of these guys do, where they give one of their rich friends more money to go dole out to more people. I'm talking about building solutions, literally building solutions. You want to talk progress city? Build something. Build the city of tomorrow. Invest in the future. Invest in education. Solve the homeless crisis. Build a solution for that. Listen, in the meantime, it's a new year. So what does that mean? It means it's time to spice up your kitchen. And believe you me, Pampered Chef has all of the goodies. I'm talking spatulas, mandolins, pots, pans, amazing pots and pans, and knives. Yes, knives. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker. So spice up your kitchen today. Check out Colleen Herman at pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate, and legal fights and fees. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law for a free consultation to discuss options and tools you have available to protect your home, savings, and estate for those you love the most. To get started, send an email to russell@rklawpro.com or call 786-566-2456 to set up your free consultation today. Last minute shipping from the parks. My friends at the UPS store have you covered. They've got P.O. boxes and a notary as well. If you're local or just visiting and you need their help, they're there for you, located right behind the Magic Kingdom at 6526 Old Brick Road. That's the UPS store at 6526 Old Brick Road. And as always, William.bailey is available for all of your travel needs, destination planning, Disney, a cruise, or a Disney cruise. William provides a customizable experience at competitive rates. You can contact him at William.bailey at academytravel.com, William.bailey at academytravel.com, or go to royces.com and fill out the travel form on my website. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And I don't know if at any point here I completely veered off the mark. You know, it's one thing when you're talking and you know the audience is right there in real time. You see the comments coming and you can glance over, or I have Kenzie on the other side to talk to. So often I find when I'm doing these monologues, you know, maybe there's a little veering in there. But you know what? I'll never know because I don't go back and listen to the show. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I made my point. We talked about TikTok. We talked about Disney. A lot of kvetching. But it wouldn't be radio if we weren't complaining, right? I mean, listen, it wouldn't be social media if people weren't complaining. Everybody likes to complain. People like to complain that other people are complaining. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. People complain that, oh, you complain too much. Well, now you're complaining. It's the world we live in, right? Everybody's got a voice. Spread of information too fast. But here we are. All right, so thank you for listening. This is Under the Influence. I look forward to having Kenzie join us next week. I don't know if she'll listen to this, but she'll be the first to tell me that I rambled for an hour. And but look, I had notes, so If this really was a ramble session, blame the notes. Don't blame me, even though I'm the one that typed up the notes. I'll see you next time.